Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to Filthy Sports for this Wednesday edition. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio by Jonathan Voico.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Ryan Myers is here.
Hey, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thanks so much for being here as we talk about a whole bunch of things going on in the world of sports. Here's how our show's going to go. We're going to talk about a bunch of topics. Then the second part of the show, we're going to take some of your live questions, shall we? So let's not waste any time and just dive right into it with this. I don't know if you guys have seen that show on Netflix. It's about that company called Golden Auctions. What's the name of the show? It's something golden or whatever.
It has to be golden, yeah.
So Golden Auctions is this company that gets high value sports memorabilia and then auctions it off for money and for profit, right? So anyway, what has that got to do with what today's topic is? Well, here's the thing. Some of you will remember that Shohei Ohtani, who had one of the great seasons in Major League Baseball history, hit his 50th home run to join and create the 50-50 club. Obviously, that ball is going to be worth a little bit of something, right? So there is a crazy, for those of you who've not heard about this, there is a crazy lawsuit, two of them, surrounding this ball. So here's the scenario. Shohei Ohtani is at bat. He's sitting on 49 home runs. He cranks it out of the park, 50th home run. Now, as the ball is going into the bleachers, this one guy misses it. Then it's falling because he kind of hit a wall, falls down to the next level. This other guy reaches out for it, and it just goes off the tip of his finger, so he misses it.
I like the guy in the screenshot of the phone.
Yeah,
it's
he's
like recording himself.
Like, hey.
He's watching it. He's like, whoa, cool.
So, okay, now I want you to keep this picture up here because there are going to be three people in particular that we're looking at. So when the ball drops and that one guy misses it, a scrum ensues. Like Ozzie rules football, where like a whole bunch of people pile in. And as you can see, the one guy in the middle with the red circle around him, we're going to call him, for the sake of the discussion, to keep things simple, guy number one. He comes out with the ball. Now, he then takes it to Golden Auctions. They're going to auction it off. At first, they thought that ball was going to be worth several $100,000. Well, here's the catch. The bidding has already started, and it's already at $1.5 million. So this ball's worth a lot. It's a big deal. But once he did that, let's go back to that other picture there.
Sure.
The guy in red behind him, we're going to call him guy number two, 18-year-old kid.
Mr. Miami.
He files a lawsuit trying to get the ball, claiming that he had possession of the ball first and that the other guy got it away, wrestled it away, like got to put his legs around it and pulled the ball out and all that kind of stuff, and he got it.
Hope he gets the right ball.
He's down
He got a handful of balls.
Yeah.
He got a handful of balls. All right. So guy number one ended up with the ball. Guy number two in red files a lawsuit, says, hey, I had the ball first. Well, then there's a second lawsuit, I should say, from a guy we're going to call guy number three. Guy number three claims that he actually had possession of the ball prior to the scrum and that another fan hit his arm, knocking the ball loose, which then the scrum ensued. So guy number three claims the ball should be his. So all three of these guys number one, guy number two, and guy number three, they're all in court now. And it's going to be up to a judge to kind of figure out, okay, so who gets the ball? Now, in the meantime, all three parties have agreed, according to his story on ESPN, that the ball that's currently at Golden Auctions can continue to go up for auction and get sold, and that Golden Auction will then take the money from the winning bid and hold it in trust until it's determined who the ball belonged to, right? And then they'll get the money for it. All right, so it's just this crazy thing about this ball that got knocked out. Now, here's the thing. A little bit earlier today, I sat down and I watched a couple of YouTube videos talking about this, and they had like 4 or 5 different camera angles from official cameras and people just there with their phones recording the thing, right?
It's a grassy knoll.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Zapruder film.
exactly. It's a grassy knoll situation. So I'm watching it, and there is, to use NFL instant replay rule, I saw no definitive video evidence that anybody had possession of the ball until guy number 1 came out with his hand raised.
Because it seems like it bounces, like it just, like no one took it, it just bounced.
Yeah, it bounced and rolled around, and everybody was going for it. Yeah. Now, there was a witness who said that they saw the kid in the red shirt, guy number 2, had the ball, and that the other guy took it away from him. Turns out, though, that witness is a friend of that guy. That kid is the witness's boss. So you can't really believe that. So that's the only eyewitness from that. But yeah, I looked at it. I never saw anybody get possession of the ball first and have it knocked away. So there goes guy number 3. Well, I saw the kid get close and be in the area of the ball. And listen, maybe he did, but I saw no video evidence that said the kid had the ball. All I saw, the only time I ever saw from all the different camera angles, the only guy who came out with that ball was that dude, guy number 1. So unless there's some other video evidence that comes forth, Frodo, bring forth the ring. Unless some other guy comes forward with like conclusive video evidence, I think guy number 1 is going to end with the ball. Unless, you know what else is possible here? The 3 parties can get together and say, you know what? Okay, instead of taking it in front of the judge where one of us could lose, why don't we just make an agreement? Guy number 1 who came out with the ball, you get 50% of whatever the auction is, and then the other 2 guys will split 50% each.
Still
so we each
a
get 25.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Still a ton of money.
Yeah.
Tons of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But again, like I said, from the video I saw, I don't see any way, but it is, Ryan, this type of stuff is nuts.
Yeah.
Like that's already a bid for $1.5 million to me is crazy. What do you make of this whole situation?
I'm surprised there wasn't more people rushing them to try to get it. Like
it landed like in a private box area.
Of course.
There's like 15 or 20 people in there.
Even still, you got to imagine, like you said, they thought the ball would be a couple 100,000. Even with that, if it's in the area, I would try to jump over some seats to get a ball if I could. I do feel bad for that kid if he did have it and the older guy took it from him. But like you said, there's no real evidence of it.
And I'll feel terrible for that kid.
So like he's fighting an adult basically for a ball. So that kind of sucks. Splitting it would be cool, I think. Kind of just if they want to make some money off of it, why don't they have like a competition for it? Like a mini home run derby.
Games?
Like a mini home run derby. Who can hit the furthest gets the winnings. I don't know. They can all make money off of it. To see someone win that, I don't know. It's kind of silly that they're all fighting over a stupid ball.
Well, no, but here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, they're not fighting over a ball. They're fighting over will probably be $2 million.
At the end of the day, is Ohtani just buying it back? Because it's his. It's his.
Good.
So, yeah, I
just give it to him. He could use the money.
But you know what? Ohtani has $750 million.
Not for a decade, though.
Well, I know usually when someone hits like a ball like this, like they give it to the player and the player gives them something or whatever. But since this is such a big deal, I understand the money.
Yeah, if this ball was going to be worth like $5,000,
so
then the team would give him autographed jerseys, a meet and greet with the player.
Yeah.
But we're in the millions of dollars here.
So I do wonder who ends up buying it. If it's obviously a Dodger fan or Ohtani fan, or if it's just Ohtani himself, or
just a baseball fanatic or whatever.
So we'll see how much it gets up to.
Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this whole thing? Ohtani hits a baseball, and now there's lawsuits going on over a home run. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it is Wednesday, which means tomorrow night, week 7. Can you believe it's already week 7?
It's crazy already.
Week 7 of the NFL season gets underway with a barn burner. Well, at least it looked like it could be a barn burner for a bit when the Saints were 2-0. But since then, the New Orleans Saints have lost 4 games in a row. So they're sitting at 2-4. And quite frankly, the surprising Denver Broncos at 3-3. Which, I mean, it looked like their season was going to spin out of control really fast. And all of a sudden, they ripped off a couple of decent wins. And Bo Nix is looking like he could turn into something pretty good. Anyway, the 3-3 Broncos versus the 2-4 New Orleans Saints kick off week 7 in Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. And, obviously, New Orleans just came off a really wild game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the Buccaneers were like up 17-0. It looked like it was going to be a complete blowout. Then in the span of about 18 seconds, the New Orleans Saints are in the lead through a couple of fluky things. They score like a mass, and they go into halftime in the lead, and then they get completely blown out in the second half. So it was a really wild game. But look, they are without Derek Carr, right? And while it is not as bad, Ron, I don't know what you think about this, but like, it's not as bad as the Miami situation, because like Miami looked like a good team when Tua was there. The moment Tua was not there, that team looks like the Keystone Cops. I mean, they just look awful without him there. Now, so I'm not saying the Saints are that, right? But clearly they're not the same team without Derek Carr playing quarterback. And that kind of became evident last week. Hey, listen, the kid who stepped in there and filled in did a pretty respectable job, but he was not able to really mount much.
50 points is hard to overcome.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to do that. I'll tell you what, this Bucs offense is for real, man. Anyway, getting back over to Denver, I mean, again, they put off some nice wins. Their losses aren't embarrassing. They look like a team. Look, everybody knows they're in a little bit of a semi-rebuild, right? So nobody came into this season expecting big thing from the Colts. As a matter of fact, I bet you wouldn't find many people who would have thought they'd be 3-3 right now. No. So you got two teams trying to find something here. I'm just going to say this. I think the difference in this is right now, for whatever reason, the New Orleans Saints defense is not playing up to their potential, because on their best day, they're a solid defense. I'm not one of the best in the league, but they're a solid. They have looked porous. Now, I'm sure some of that has to do with the fact that there's a lot of 3-and-outs and all that kind of stuff. And with Denver starting to find ways to move the ball, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I think the Denver Broncos win tomorrow night. Not by a blowout, but I think probably I'd give them 6. I think they win by 6. What's standing out to you about this game, and who do you got winning?
This is Sean Payton's first game back in New Orleans. So
I didn't even think about that. That's a major storyline.
I think the Broncos will have a little bit more. I mean, it could go both ways. The Broncos have the extra urge to get him a win there, but also, Saints want to go against their old coach, so get that win. Spencer Rattler is the rookie that came in since Derek Carr's been out. He played pretty good, like you said, but he's still new. Their defense is struggling. Broncos have a really good defense, like you said. I think this game is a chance for Bo Nix to step up and try to score more points than he usually does. He's he's kind of like a game manager at this point, making sure not to do horrible turnovers at the wrong time. But I do think this is the chance for him to take advantage of a bad defense. Also, a bad offense, like you're saying, they're going to get 3-and-outs, so there's going to be more opportunities for the Broncos offense to be on the field. So I do think the Broncos are going to win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, which most Broncos games are because of their defense. But I do think they should win 6 or 7 probably.
All right, guys, question is for you. How do you see tomorrow night's game between the Saints and the Broncos going down? I think the Broncos win. However you guys see it, jump on down to the comment section and let us know what you guys think. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Yesterday on Filthy Sports, a few people wrote in and say, John, what do you think about Jerry Jones, threatening the jobs of some radio hosts? It just happened earlier in the day. And I had only seen a 10-second clip of it. And if you guys watched the show yesterday, having just had a chance to watch a few seconds of it, I thought, it's not a good look for Jerry. But, he's probably getting asked a lot about the coaching situation again, and he probably just got frustrated. Well, I had more people write to me and say, John, I really think you should look at the full thing. And I watched the full thing. So basically, for those of you who don't know what happened, Jerry Jones, owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, did his weekly radio show with a couple of hosts. And the hosts asked him some very basic, reasonable questions. Questions like moves made in the offseason or moves not made in the offseason that may or may not have led to Dallas's struggles right now. That's a reasonable set of questions and questions surrounding that, right? Reasonable, common sense questions. Jerry Jones gets a bit defensive. I'll let that slide, right? Because I'm sure he's doing nothing but hearing about this all the time. So he gets a bit defensive, but he refuses to answer the question. And he starts going off on this wild thing about Well, I'm not going to sit here and just talk about everything we've done wrong for the past 20 years. Why don't we sit here and talk about everything we've done right for the past 20 years and blah, blah. And like the hosts were like gently, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the hosts were just kind of like gently going like, the offseason stuff, this just happened.
Yeah.
You said you were going to go all in, but nothing happened other than a contract with Dak Prescott. And so like, we're just wondering like, how does this fit into, what you said about going all in and where we're at right now? And then Jerry starts to lose it to the point that he ultimately starts to basically threatens the jobs of the hosts.
Yeah.
Because it ain't your job to ask me about this. And I'm sitting there watching. It's like, actually, Jerry, that's specifically their job.
That's the whole point.
Their job is specifically to ask you these kinds of questions as the general manager. Now, I get it. Maybe the owner of a team is not accustomed to being asked such questions. But if you want to wear the general manager hat, these are the questions you're going to get asked. Totally reasonable. And then he starts going on and basically making veiled threats that you're not going to be here asking questions anymore. Like basically making veiled threats that he's going to get them fired and make them lose their job because they were asking totally rational, reasonable questions.
Nothing like a multi-billionaire getting a little snowflakey over a question, about
about
a team he owns.
He controls and owns.
Yeah. Let's threaten the guy who's just trying to make ends meet, but you're the multi-billionaire. Yeah, let's take that dude's job away.
Listen, I would sympathize a little bit if they were like getting personal.
Yeah, if they were going at him.
Like, hey, Jerry Jones, you're an idiot. Yeah. Do you think that had anything to do with Dallas sucking now? Like if they did something like that, I would kind of get it.
They're just asking about the business.
But they were keeping it very lighthearted. They were very gentle, but they were asking questions that needed to be asked.
You know why they were gentle?
Why?
Because they're the broadcast partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, which is what, when he makes that threat, it's not an idle threat.
Yeah.
The owner of the Dallas Cowboys goes to the station and says, I want those guys gone. What do you think is going to happen? Yeah. Those guys are going to be gone. So here's the thing. It all kind of revolves around this, though. Jerry Jones, and I know I've harped on this before, but it's relevant to the conversation. Jerry Jones, who, by the way, has won Super Bowls. I ain't taking that away at all. That was a long time ago. Jerry Jones made statements saying, we've got the talent and we're going to go all in. All in. That makes you think he's going to open up the checkbook. They're going to go out. They're going to start to acquire talent and all this kind of stuff. Well, then a couple of things happen. Derrick Henry is available. He's got no contract in this offseason. And he specifically has said, he's confirmed, he wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy. Wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy. But they didn't sign him. Instead, they went out and got he was great, but he's well past his prime, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I used to love that guy, but he is what he is now. I'm not saying he's one of the worst running backs in the league, but he is not a primetime player anymore. Okay? Just call it what it is. And what he does instead is he goes out and gives Dak Prescott, who is a good quarterback. I like Dak Prescott, but he is not a top 5 quarterback in the league. And they paid him the richest contract in NFL history. Do you know what he makes a year, Ryan? Want to take a guess what Dak Prescott makes in a single year?
$56 million.
Very close. $60 million a year. Dak Prescott makes $60 million a year. He is 25th in the NFL with a quarterback rating of 48.9. He's thrown 8 touchdown passes, which ties him for 12th. With those 8 touchdowns, he's thrown 6 interceptions. He's averaging an interception per game. He's thrown for a bunch, like he's averaging like almost 270 yards a game. He's slinging for a lot of yards, but he's throwing the ball insanely. So 25th quarterback rating, 12th in touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and they're paying him $60 million a year is what Jerry Jones paid him. Now, I tell you all of that because I want that to set the context for this other set of numbers. Derrick Henry, whereas Dak Prescott is ranked number 25th in QBR, Derrick Henry has run for 704 yards this year. Do you know where that ranks him in running backs?
Number one.
Number one. Derrick
good.
Henry
Yeah.
has rushed for 8 touchdowns this year. Do you know where that ranks him, Ryan?
One.
Number one. Derrick Henry is also a workhorse. He's carried the ball 119 times. Do you know where that ranks him in the NFL?
Please say one.
One.
Number one.
All right. 3
Dak
for 3.
Prescott, number 12, number 25 in QBR, $60 million a year. Now, hold all that information in your head that Derrick Henry right now is the baddest man in the NFL. When asked, hey, Jerry, Derrick Henry said he wanted to be a Cowboy. Why didn't you sign him? You know what Jerry Jones's answer was to the reporters? We couldn't afford him. He straight up said, we could not afford him. The number one best player in the NFL, of course, Christian McCaffrey's out right now, but for now, number one in carries, massive workhorse. Number one in rushing yards, massive production. Number one in touchdowns, massive finisher. We couldn't afford him. Dak Prescott got $60 million a year. Hey, Ryan, you know how much Derrick Henry signed a contract for with the Baltimore Ravens? You know how much he makes a year? Wild guess.
5 million.
Close. 8. You gave Dak Prescott $60 million a year, but you couldn't afford a guy who wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy, who lives in Dallas in the offseason, who is the number one in carries, number one in rushing yards, number one in touchdowns, and was willing to go for $8 million a year.
Pretty good deal.
$8 million a year. And you said, can't afford him. Why? Because we gave a guy who's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL $60 million a year. Don't worry about it. We'll just bring back Zeke. And so listen, I say all that because that's the background and the context of a Dallas Cowboys radio host asking the general manager, hey, in the offseason, you said you were going to go all in. Do you think your inability to do this in the offseason has led to some of the problems? How dare you ask me about that? We're not going to talk about... And I'm sorry, but they have totally botched this thing. I don't know how they thought they were going to go from last season, then say, we're going all in, basically keep the same team, only give the quarterback way more money than he deserves, not sign the best running back in football right now, even though it was only $8 million, and say we were going all in. And then you threaten the jobs of the radio hosts for that. I mean, listen, Jerry Jones is a cornerstone of the NFL. He has won championships. And listen, one of the things that drives me nuts about a lot of owners is that they clearly don't have a passion to win. They're just in there for business. Jerry Jones, hey, you can say all you want about him, man. This dude, he would give up a kidney to win another ring. He wants to win. He's passionate about winning. I give him all the respect in the world for that. But their current problems are an ownership problem. And anyway, Ryan, you saw this whole situation play out. What do you think about this?
Kind of add to going all in. They also gave CeeDee Lamb a huge contract extension.
Yes, they did.
Making him the second highest non-quarterback paid player. So they're really invested in those two things, and they're not paying off right now. Obviously, some of that could be the offensive line and no running game, which leads into what you're saying with Henry. But as far as the radio hosts and stuff, they're asking what they're supposed to ask. Like I said, they're a broadcast partner of the Dallas Cowboys. So there was already a feeling that they were giving softball type questions to him anyway. So they weren't really pressing him. So they're basically giving him easy questions to answer, and he's overreacting and threatening them, which is super unprofessional and kind of shows. I think he's obviously overstressed with everything, with the losses and dealing with this. So, but I don't, what's the point of that? It just makes him look even worse that he's doing that.
Well, and then, I mean, the fact that he's doing that and other people are listening, it's like, did he forget himself? Dude, you're not at the golf course.
Yeah.
You can't just talk like this. You
Talk
got an audience that's immediately judging you now.
Yeah. And,
you know what I mean?
And I mean, I'm obviously none of us are super Cowboy fans, especially John, but
it's true.
I'm sure the fan base,
It's true.
I'm sure the fan base is tired of those kind of things too with him. And this just makes their own fans have to now deal with other fans saying your owner's, doing these weird interviews now and wanting to fire people on the radio. So it's just a bad look overall. It just makes, it's more of a circus. for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it, and now it's become a big distraction for the team as well, and whatever. And by the way, I don't think Dallas, the Cowboys, are as bad as they looked against Detroit the other day. I just think they're not a 12-win team this year. They're not this Super Bowl or bust team. They're going to be a fairly average team. They're going to get some wins. They're not as bad as that loss to Detroit says they are, but they're clearly not the all-in team that Jerry Jones said they were going to be. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? About the comments, Jerry Jones? Hey, listen, we all, sure, you get uncomfortable. You might get frustrated getting asked questions you don't want to answer. But, I mean, to then straight up threaten guys' jobs for just doing their job. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this. You know, we talked about this the other day, 2 big wide receiver signings happened in the last 24 hours. Davante Adams, which everybody knew he was leaving the Raiders, signed on with the New York Jets to re-team up with his Batman, Aaron Rodgers. And Amari Cooper, who, by the way, the Dallas Cowboys let go for a 5th-round pick a couple of years ago. Amari Cooper signs on to the Buffalo Bills, who have really had that hole at wide receiver since they let Diggs go, right? Yeah. So they needed something there, and they needed help in that situation. So they went out and got him. And I think now, as we're sending back and taking a deep breath, I thought it would be fun to look at who got the better deal out of the 2. Did the New York Jets get the better deal, or did the Buffalo Bills get the better deal? I think there's a couple things to keep in mind here. First of all, last year, I want to bring this up. Amari Cooper, with the Cleveland Browns, with the worst football player in the NFL, with Deshaun Watson, and then backup old man Flacco, he got for 1,250 yards last year. That's incredibly productive. Last year, with the Las Vegas Raiders, Davante Adams caught also an impressive number, 1,144 yards. Now, in the 2 seasons prior to that, he caught for over 1,500 yards each of the 2 seasons prior to that. Both of those, well, one was in his first year in Las Vegas, which he became disgruntled, started asking for trades. And then the year before that with Green Bay under Aaron Rodgers. That's all the way back in 2021. So in the most recent history, you got Amari Cooper, who last year caught for 1,250, got Davante Adams caught for 1,140. Good numbers across the board. I'm going to say this, and I think some people are going to disagree with me. I think the Buffalo Bills got the best deal here. I think the Buffalo Bills got the best deal because of this. I honestly think Amari Cooper and Davante Adams are roughly neck and neck as far as upside as a receiver goes. I think overall Davante's had some better career numbers, but I think, Davante also had the advantage of playing with Aaron Rodgers in some of Aaron Rodgers' prime years, right? That's obviously going to help a lot. But I think they're comparable receivers. The reason I would give the advantage to Buffalo in getting this deal with Amari Cooper is for 2 reasons. One, Cooper's younger. Now, granted, his contract expires this year, but I think they'll be in a good control position. They can either franchise tag him, they can negotiate with his agent this year, whereas nobody else can. So whatever. But Cooper's younger by 2 years, and in NFL, 2 years can be a lot, especially when you're talking about players that are now past 29 and they're 30. Because I think Amari Cooper's now 30. Davante Adams is 32 and coming off an injury. But here's the key thing for me. I think they're roughly equivalent receivers. One's a couple of years younger. But you know what Buffalo has to pay for Amari Cooper this year? $900,000. $900,000 is what they're going to have to pay Amari Cooper to play for the rest of the season. Now, the New York Jets are getting a bargain too. They're only going to have to pay not a premium price for Davante Adams. What is it, 3 point something million? What is it?
It was 11, and then he renegotiated his contract with the Jets to drop it to 3.2, and then basically after this year, he's non-guaranteed for the rest of the contract.
Right. So no, you're getting a guy basically 1/3 the price.
Yeah.
You're getting the younger guy, equivalent skill set at 1/3 the price. And here's the fourth thing. This is the wild card in this. Amari Cooper will make a bigger difference in Buffalo than Devonta Adams will make in New York. And here's why. Because in New York, it's still the Jets. It's still a well past his prime Aaron Rodgers, who is short throwing the ball, throwing ill-timed interceptions, all that kind of stuff. They're still the Jets. They're going to win some games. I still think they probably make the playoffs, but they're still the Jets. But with Amari Cooper going to Buffalo, he's going to be playing with Josh Allen, where they have a specific need for a wide receiver since Diggs was gone. They rank amongst the bottom, even though they're near the top in most offensive categories, they rank near the bottom of the NFL in targets and completions to wide receivers, like right down in the low 20s. You now add an Amari Cooper, it opens up the playbook a lot more. So I think I think Amari in the Bills is going to make the biggest difference. He's the better value. I think he's the better long-term solution. And I just think Buffalo ended up with a good deal. Now, listen, I am not saying New York Jets getting Devonta Adams was a bad move. Not at all. I think it helps the team. I think it marginally improves them. It was a good trade. It was a good deal. It's a good deal for the Jets to make. Absolutely. But I just think Buffalo got the best of it. Anyway, you took a look at this.
Yeah.
Ryan, what are the biggest factors to you, and who do you think end up getting the best deal?
I mean, the biggest factor for me is obviously Adams and Rodgers' connection. So that's who they wanted. There's no getting used to it, no clicking that a new receiver coming to the team would have to have. That, like you said, Rodgers is old. The Jets don't have time to wait. They're pretty much all in this season with him, and now basically Adams. So I think that's what they wanted to go with. They couldn't take a chance on Cooper coming in and making sure he had rhythm with Rodgers. But on the flip side of it, like you're saying, the Bills didn't have a deep threat at all. Allen is running for his life. He's throwing to running backs and short
tight ends
and slot receivers. So he's not really doing anything. So he fits exactly right in with a spot that they need at a price that's basically a third rounder and no money compared to most contracts. With the Jets, Adams is basically another number one when they have Garrett Wilson that is kind of another number one, but he's younger. They also have Lazard and stuff, but Mike Williams, who we'll probably talk about later.
We'll talk about Mike Williams in a minute, yeah.
He's basically out now because he's another like deep threat, bigger receiver. So I think both guys fit the teams they're on. I think Adams is more of a, we really need something here, and this is like our last shot. Whereas the Bills needed somebody, and there was someone available that fit kind of exactly what they needed. They're both good. They, like you said, their stats are crazy. Both of them almost have, well, Adams has over 10,000 yards receiving in his career. Cooper's at 9,000. But that connection with Rodgers made Adams one of the best receivers in the league. And I don't know if Cooper was ever considered one of the best receivers. He was really good. He had drop issues, but lately Adams has had drop issues too. So I think it really works out for both of them. If it's best long-term, I kind of think Cooper is going to play longer on the Bills than Adams probably will on the Jets.
I agree. I think so too. Because listen, Devontae has a history of getting, I don't want to be here. And like, as soon as things don't start to not go well, and trust me, things are going to not go well in New York.
Yeah.
They're going to be bad days. He's going to start to be looking at greener grass.
And it's really like, if Rodgers leaves, Adams is going to want out of there.
Yeah.
So, and Allen isn't going anywhere from the Bills. So Cooper probably wants to stay. As far as higher payoff, the Jets, this could work out really well for them, and they could have a crazy offense, and Rodgers reverts back to old Rodgers. But we have to see how it plays out.
By the way, a little side note here about the Cleveland Browns. Like, this is one of the things that really shocked me most about the Amari Cooper trade. You're the Browns and you suck. Which really sucks, because historically I like the Browns. I do. I've liked the Browns for a long, long time. Never been like my top one or two teams, but I've always really liked them, right? They absolutely suck. And the Deshaun Watson deal, clearly the worst deal ever signed in NFL history. And now they're stuck with them. But You're looking at, you're a Browns team, and you've got a clearly, I'd like to call Deshaun Watson struggling is an understatement. And what do? You get rid of an Amari Cooper.
Yeah, and there was an interesting stat too. Cooper led the league this season in 480 yards in incomplete passes because Watson couldn't hit him in stride in deep ball throws. So that's points left off the board.
Leads the league in 180 uncaught yards.
480.
480.
So how many touchdowns could that have been?
Let's say you're a Cleveland Brown fan and you're like, okay, we're trying to put something together. We're trying to make something work. And you just let go of arguably your best receiver. I mean, what's the message to Cleveland Brown fans right now? We suck and we're just going to suck until we can get rid of this deal with Deshaun?
Yeah, it's another rebuild. And I feel bad. Cleveland has good fans. They love the Browns.
Have great fans.
And they just don't get a product put in front of them that can sustain
Here's
success.
the question. 3 weeks from now, is Myles Garrett still a Cleveland Brown? Because it looks to me like they're doing a fire. It looks to me like the Cleveland Browns are doing a fire sale.
I would say everyone that has value is going to be gone on Browns.
I mean, maybe we'll see Myles Garrett as a Detroit Lion.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe a San Francisco 49er or something like that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Who got the better deal when you take into consideration receiver's skill set, age, cost, potential upside, the bigger impact of the team? Who do you think ended up with the sweeter deal? I think both moves were good for both teams, but who do you think got the better of it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's stay on the topic of the Jets here for a second. As Jonathan Voico reminded me before we started the show, man, we talk a lot about the Jets. And
I don't think I've talked about this much Jets my whole life.
I mean, granted, it got started with them firing their coach,
Learn
right?
more about the Jets than I ever thought I'd want to.
Yeah.
So, interesting things happening. So, of course, you guys saw the last game they had. They just played Buffalo, where because of a fluke Hail Mary at the end of the first half, they were still in the game. And final 2 minutes of the game, Jets have the ball. This is the reason they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. Down by 3, put the ball in the hands of Aaron Rodgers. And once again, Aaron Rodgers botched it by throwing a ridiculously underthrown pass. I know I said this yesterday, but it needs to be restated again. Mike Williams had an ocean of green, clear turf between him and the end zone, and he was running for him. When the camera went to him, you didn't see a single Buffalo Bill in the camera shot. But also in that camera shot, you saw him have to try to dig his cleat into the turf to stop because once again, Aaron Rodgers massively underthrew the ball. And then in classic Aaron Rodgers form, got on the podium, said, it's the receiver's fault. Yeah, he didn't run the route that he was supposed to run. Oh, no, couldn't possibly be, Aaron, that he was clear. That was going to be the easiest 6 that you've had all year. It's not that you underthrew the ball. No, heaven forbid. You know the difference between, we talk about this a lot, true champion quarterbacks and an Aaron Rodgers? A champion quarterback like a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or somebody of that ilk. Patrick Mahomes is a good example of this too. When something goes wrong, you know what their first words always are? It's on me. Patrick Mahomes is great at that, actually. It doesn't matter what goes wrong. A defensive guy could give up a touchdown, and Patrick Mahomes will stand as the leader of the team at the podium and go, that was on me. I need to do better. Sometimes he'll say, hey, we didn't execute, whatever, but I got to do better. Me. I'm the problem. I will fix it. I will try to get better. Not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers constantly has his finger pointed that way. And what did he do? He literally took his own wide receiver and threw him under the bus to not take responsibility for what was clearly his fault and underthrowing that ball. Anyway, I say all that because this report came out in the Bleacher Report that receiver that got massively underthrown, who almost broke his own ankle trying to come back and get the Aaron Rodgers underthrown ball, he's not practicing with the team right now due to what they're calling personal reasons.
Rodgers reasons.
Yeah, personal's another word for Rodgers.
Yeah.
Rodgers reasons.
You think Woody Johnson gave him a call after this?
Maybe Brody Johnson called, "Hey, Aaron, what do you think we should do about Mike Williams?" Well, it's clearly his fault. So, and now, according to this Bleacher Report, they are talking about trading him. The New York Jets, it says.
My God.
It says,
I just can't with this team anymore.
the New York Jets were without one of their top wide receivers during practice Wednesday. Per the New York Post, Mike Williams didn't practice on Wednesday with the injury report listing his absence as a personal reason. The absence comes amid trade rumors surrounding Williams after New York landed Devontae Adams in a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders on Tuesday. Now, look, to be fair, they have a full receivers room now. Devontae Adams is coming in, right? That is true.
Yeah.
So I think there's something there for that. But I also don't think it's coincidence that in the 48 hours following Aaron Rodgers blowing the game and then standing at a podium and blaming his receiver for it, that receiver is now not practicing with the team and is probably going to get traded. This is why, Ryan, when we talk about the Amari Cooper going to the Bills or Devontae Adams going to the Jets, it won't matter, because you know why? Aaron Rodgers is still going to be Aaron Rodgers. He will continue. He does not bring a winning culture with him. He will continue to poison that locker room and poison that team. And you can see it in Aaron Rodgers' body language. He is not having fun playing football right now. He's not having fun.
No.
Every time the camera's on him, he looks like, why the hell am I not on my
He doesn't
couch?
care. Like,
He
he's
doesn't
just there.
care.
Yeah.
I mean, he cares if he looks good, for sure.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I think you can bring him in. He'll still be Aaron Rodgers. He'll still be all about Aaron Rodgers. He'll still be all for Aaron Rodgers. And it'll be Aaron Rodgers before anything else. And whether Devontae's there or not, I don't know that's going to make that much of a difference. Anyway, like I said, Ryan, to be fair, there is another receiver there now with Devontae.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that there's got to be, I just don't buy that there's no connection here between him not practicing with the team and now the trade rumors right off the heels of Aaron Rodgers throwing him under the bus. How do you see this?
Yeah, no, it's definitely connected 100%. Williams and Rodgers never really connected. We could kind of see that, obviously. You know, if that's, route running or just not knowing the right plays or whatever. But yeah, the play in question, which the guy that got the interception was crazy. He basically dove over his back.
That was
that.
bad man's interception. That was such a great interception.
So, but like you alluded to in the press conference, Rodgers says he ran the wrong route. He's supposed to be along the sidelines. But then why did
that ball was nowhere near the sideline?
Why did he underthrow it in the middle of the field and the guy had to put on the brakes? And also to add injury to insult, he slipped and ran the wrong route.
Yeah.
So he kind of doubled it down. Now, he could have easily said we weren't on the right page. We could have like it's both of our faults, but no, you're right. He threw him under the bus. They got Adams. They don't need Williams anymore. Adams is going to be the number 1A basically, or the main receiver. So Williams is out. The problem is Williams signed a 1-year, $10 million contract. So they can't really have him sit on the bench. That's a lot of money. But does anybody want to trade for him? I think they will. He had decent success on the Chargers when he was there, but he had an ACL tear, which he missed the season, and he went to the Jets. So I do think around the league somebody will want him, but someone's going to try to take advantage of the Jets with this and be like, we'll give you whatever, a 7th rounder if you want to get rid of him, because he's not going to stay there. But yeah, it's definitely because of Adams, and he is another one of Rodgers' fall guys at this point for the Jets.
I mean, Williams is probably better off anyway.
I think so too. Like,
I
I wouldn't want to be there. Most of the people want to get out of the Jets probably now.
Now,
for all
look,
this crap.
if I'm a wide receiver, would I love the opportunity to play with a guy who, like, for whatever I think of him right now, a guy who will undisputedly go down as one of the greats? To say I played with Aaron Rodgers, I think there's definitely an argument to be made for that. 100%, I think so. And again, I think the Jets have some wins coming up on their schedule. I think, they're playing the Steelers. I think that's a winnable game for the Jets. They're playing the Patriots. That's a winnable game for the Jets. They're going to get their asses handed to them by Houston after that.
Yeah.
Cardinals will be a competitive game. They got the Colts. That's a winnable game. Then they got the Seahawks. That's a winnable game. Listen, the Jets can still put together some wins. I'm not trying to say they're the Cleveland Browns. I'm not trying to say they're the New England Patriots right now. They're not. It's just, man, what could be a great situation with the right people and the right attitude is disintegrated pretty quickly. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It looks like the receiver that Aaron Rodgers threw on the bus for his own mistake, Mike Williams, wasn't practicing with the team, and they're saying he may get traded now. Any surprises there? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on to this, shall we? Well, you knew you were never going to keep Tom Brady away from the NFL for too long. He immediately came back. He's been calling for Fox Sports. Doing a pretty good job, actually. You know what? I think he's doing about as good as Tony Romo did in his first year or two. I really like Tony Romo as a color guy. Yeah. He brings an enthusiasm, and I just really like him as a play-by-play guy. And Tom Brady right now with Fox, it is very reminiscent of Tony's first couple of seasons. He's not as good as Romo is right now, but I think he's going to be pretty good. And now it's complete. Tom Brady is now officially, according to this report in ESPN, officially been approved and is now bought into the NFL. He is now part owner of the Raiders.
Vegas, baby. Vegas.
Vegas, baby. To which Tom Brady said, it's just good to know now I am forever, legacy-wise and everything, I'm going to be a part of the NFL for the rest of my life, which is true. Now he's got in there, bought in for 10%. He owns 10% of the team. I get it why he's done this, to be part owner of the NFL. The NFL is his life. Football is his life. He's now connected to it forever. I still don't know what he's going to do. You know, one of our viewers wrote in yesterday, they said he's going to be very involved. No, he's not. Like, even in the press conference, Davis said that, he's going to be pivotal in helping us pick a quarterback and maybe training him. Tom Brady's going to become a quarterback coach on the team. And listen, for anybody who thinks that Tom Brady is going to have significant say over what happens with the LA Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry, not LA.
They've been in 3 cities. So.
That's like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody in the Davis family is ever giving up true control of the Raiders to anybody?
Lost control of his hair.
Well, Can somebody explain this hair situation to me? This guy, he's one of the richest guys in the business, and he doesn't have anybody that can come in and fix his hair.
I think he's trolling everybody.
Yeah, he might be. He just might be. I've never understood that. Like, he is so wealthy, and he can hire the greatest stylist in the world to come in and give him a much better look, right?
I don't know. The Lloyd Christmas is pretty good. Yeah. That haircut's so bad it makes me not want to eat later. Like I lose my appetite. It's horrible.
The Lloyd Christmas hairdo. The Lloyd. Anyway, so I mean, hey, good for the NFL. Good for Tom Brady. I just think at the end of the day, as far as football operations go and as far as football fans go, I don't think this moves the needle at all. He's an owner. It's on his record. He'll sit in on some board meetings. But until someday they announce him that he has an official position in the team, I really don't think. And he's still a play-by-play guy. So I don't really think this changes anything. How do you see this?
And like you said, Davis said some comments about him, maybe helping pick the quarterback of the future. Do I think they might ask him some questions and watch some film? Probably. But I don't think he's going to be.
He's the greatest quarterback of all
He's not going to
time,
be the day-to-day quarterback coach or whatever. Not that.
You don't pay to do that work.
No.
You know what I mean?
That's more. That's work. You don't pay for it. You're the owner.
For it.
You just collect the checks. I mean, the NFL's ever expanding. His ownership stake now in 10 years, 20 years could be worth 5 times what he paid for this right now. So he's making money off of that. Goodell, who not everyone's not his favorite, but he basically said part of this also Richard Seymour, an old Raiders player, is a part owner now too.
Yep.
So he hopes former players get more into ownership when it's available like this. So I think it's good for that. But I mean, it's an investment for him. I don't see him doing day-to-day stuff. It's a cool story. I mean, he's the greatest, I hate to say it, greatest quarterback ever, because I like Peyton Manning, but he is. Now he owns part of the Raiders. The funny part is Davis made a joke about he hated Brady because of the tuck rule game.
Tuck rule?
So it's kind of funny that he's getting in with the Raiders.
I didn't like him for a long time. It was funny. It was funny that he said that.
It's cool. It's a cool story. Vegas is coming up big with all the teams they're getting now.
Oh, they're looking like they're going to get the NFL or the NBA. I mean, now hockey is huge there right now. They're selling out everything. I mean, we always knew Vegas would be a great sports time. And listen, to everybody, whoever wants to bristle when it gets said that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, he is the greatest of all time. Look, just for context, I've said one of the guys who will go down as one of the greats, Aaron Rodgers, he took his teams to a grand total of 1 Super Bowl appearance. 1. Tom Brady has taken his teams to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. He's taken his team to 10 NFL title games, winning 7 of them. He has more gems on his hand than Thanos. That's just what he is. And by the way, he did it all with completely different teams, even on the New England Patriots. Because they did this breakdown on ESPN this one time, like the first like Super Bowl II that he won was like one team. Then the Super Bowl number 5 or whatever, everybody on the roster was different. It was a completely different roster. And then again, it happened. I mean, it's just, he's the greatest of all time. And you know who knows it? Tom Brady knows it.
He definitely does. Yeah.
He's not too shy to say, Tom Brady is a big fan of Tom Brady. I admit, but he's also a great team guy people love playing with him. They love playing for him. Like what was the one guy, the documentary on Max about the New England Patriots. I can't remember which guy said it, but one of the big defenders, one of the big defensive guys on the Patriots in those championship years said, "We worked for Bill Belichick, but we played for Tom Brady." I mean, that says a lot. That's great. And hey, it's always good to have something like that in the league. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Tom Brady's now an owner in the NFL. Do you think it'll actually have any practical impact on the day-to-day and how good things or bad things happen to the Las Vegas Raiders? I actually don't think so, at least not until that changes. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen. We're now going to take some time here and take some questions for you guys. Now, the first thing we're going to do is take questions from people who sent in a couple of super chats. So we're going to get to those first. Now, once we're done those, if you guys are in the live chat and you've got a question you want to ask, look at what I just put in the live chat. Form it by putting in all capital letters, questions, colon, and then writing your question. Don't do it yet. Wait till we get through the super chat questions, and then we'll pick out a couple of your questions asked as well. So, Jonathan, what do we got in the super chats?
All right. First off, we got Kazada says, John, my team, the Phoenix Suns, are ready to bring that trophy home this year. What are your thoughts on that? Joker or Luka can't stop us this year.
Is that a joke? Is that funny joke? If you know the reference to that, that's listen, Kevin Durant, one of the all-time greats. What is that? Devin Booker over there?
Yep.
They're gonna be good. They are not beating the Denver Nuggets. They are not beating the Dallas Mavericks.
Timberwolves.
I mean, hey, I think they're not beating the Timberwolves. There's some kid named Anthony something over there. Some kid. I hear he's got potential. Yeah, man, that team ain't getting anywhere out of the West, let alone titles this year. I mean, I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch. I think they're going to win a lot of games, but I mean, yeah, they're not the class of the West, I don't think. What do you think?
No, they're definitely probably for sure a playing team unless they have horrible injuries. Beal always gets hurt and he makes $50 million. So the team will go basically as far as he goes. Durant's getting up there in age. Booker's good. He had a really good Olympics. I think he'll probably show out this year and probably play the best he's played in a while. I definitely think they could be a playoff team. I just don't think they have a ton of depth still. I know they have Grayson Allen, Bol, which is hilarious. But I just don't see them beating the upper echelon West teams.
Who's the coach? It's not Nurse isn't the coach.
No,
there.
It's Budenholzer now, the old Bucks
right.
coach. Yeah.
That's right. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Josh here. Josh Carlos says, do you think the expanded playoffs and potential expanded regular season the NFL might consider another expansion?
Hey, listen, the NFL will always consider expansion because expansion brings in a lot of money. But the NFL, one of the things they're very good at is what's their big logo? Protect the shield, right? They are very protective of their game. They do not want to overexpand. But do I see expansion happening again in the future? Yeah, there are cities and teams that can definitely support more NFL teams. I mean, I don't see some people saying they're going to give a team to London. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Hey, there's a little while ago, they were talking about putting a team in Toronto.
Yeah.
Which I thought would be really interesting, but they don't have a stadium that's up to the things now. Anyway, can I see it happening? Yes. In the next 5 years, I don't. What do you think?
Yeah, eventually it probably will. I mean, if they have enough players, which they do, and it's getting more to be a global. They're trying to make it more global. They have games in Mexico, like you said, games in London. So they're trying to expand. It's just how many, where, and will the league take a hit if they do? Because I think when they expanded with like the Jaguars and the Texans originally, like those teams were bad for a long time.
Yeah.
So, but now they're decent. So I it's just when and where. And
I don't know how football does it, but like the NHL, the National Hockey League, they have a great system for their expansion. When they bring in expansion teams, they basically say, okay, every team, they come up with a number. This is how many players you can protect. Any player on your roster that isn't protected becomes available to an expansion draft where the new expansion teams can come in and take players away from you. And it's one of those reasons that like a team like the Las Vegas Golden Knights can in a very short period of time go from entering the league to winning the Stanley Cup. And so I don't know how the NFL kind of handles it, but if you want to get your teams up and running and have parity, they might want to look at the NHL a little bit. All right, what's next?
All right, Josh is back and says, do you think if AB didn't get released by the Pats in 2019 season, they would have gone further in the postseason instead of being one and done against Tennessee?
If you're talking about Antonio Brown, Antonio Brown used to be a great talent. But listen, it's not just about athletic ability. Probably more than any other sport, locker room in football, matters. And that dude at that point in his career, he was clearly a problem. And I think it could have done more harm than good if he stuck around, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a distraction. He was, on the Steelers, he was super good. He put up huge numbers. It just,
and you know what? It's that kind of stuff Belichick does not put up with.
He wants no distractions.
Yep.
He just wants it on the field. That's it.
All right, what's next?
Unknown writes, reverse question, who got the worst end of the deal, the Raiders or the Browns?
The Raiders or the Browns? Well, listen, Devontae wanted out. They've known this for over a year. He was starting rumbling about he was putting in trade requests a long time ago, and he was unhappy there. Remember that one press conference when he got up? It's like, yeah, we want some games, but I care about my greatness. I care about greatness. Mm-hmm. And, he wasn't getting the ball. Devontae is more about Devontae. And he was leaving anyway. So I think probably because of that, I think probably Cleveland got the shorter end of the stick. Listen, the Raiders are still borderline competitive, right? The Raiders are still going to win some games. They're not making the playoffs, but they're going to win some games once they get more healthy and stuff like that. But, the Browns are just a disaster, and this was just a foot to the face after already being knocked out. So, yeah, I'd say the Browns got the short end of the stick. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Abe Alpha with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Abe. Appreciate that, man.
Would you rather have 2 tickets to this Super Bowl or 4 tickets to the World Cup final in 26? Also, side note, thanks for making the greatest sports show on YouTube. I'm addicted.
Oh, thank you, man.
That's
I appreciate
great.
that very
Thanks.
much. Super Bowl. Now, I might change my mind on that if, like, the World Cup, this next World Cup was going to be held in Italy or Spain or something like that. But it's going to be held here. So, Super Bowl. Super Bowl is the one I would probably get the tickets to.
All right.
All right, what's next? And by the way, and again, man, thank you for tipping that much, man. We really appreciate it. That's very generous of you, dude.
King Daddy Goat says, what's your thoughts on John Calipari and UK?
I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend like I follow college basketball completely tightly. Obviously, I get invested when Final Four time comes around.
Yeah.
Like I even get invested in baseball when it gets down to the playoffs and the games really matter. But he's just one of those names that even if you're not somebody who follows the sport, you know him and you know the program. So, I mean, it's kind of iconic. Now, where they are this year, how are they looking heading into it? I don't know. I'm the wrong guy to ask for that. Ask me about, how the Edmonton Oilers are looking. I'll do that. All right. But I don't know. You follow it a little bit closer than I do.
No,
But you're more of an NBA guy.
I don't really follow. I know Calipari is a great coach, recruiter and all that. I know Kentucky is usually one of the better schools. So yeah, I don't
They're
know.
always in the conversation. It's just one of those teams. It's kind of like Alabama.
Someone in the
in
chat said he
football.
left Kentucky. So
Did he leave Kentucky?
Yeah, I don't know then. I have no idea.
Again, it's not.
I mean,
something-
he's won before, so he's a good coach, but I don't know enough about
again,
what school he went to or where he's going to go to.
I don't profess that I follow the college game very closely. All right, what's next?
All right, Kyle McGowan says, "Did you watch Oregon Ohio State?
I did.
Went to the game, and it's the loudest environment I've ever been to. Hoping this is the year for my Ducks to break through."
I gotta say, first of all, terrific game. Rivals that Georgia Alabama game like that. It brings up something I wanted to mention. It is crazy how passionate and how popular college football is here. Because in Canada, where every day is a struggle to survive. That's Jim Carrey spot about Canada. Anyway, college football? I went to a Master University game once, I think against McGill. And I think there might have been 500 people there watching the game. And these are major universities. Like the college sports in Canada is just not considered important.
That's how it is in the UK. I've watched like videos of reaction from like UK viewers, and like I can't believe like college gets this hype. It's awesome. Yeah, it's way
And it's
different.
infectious because my wife, Anne, did not do her undergrad college going at USC. She started taking programs at USC a few years ago when she was getting her second master's. And now that she's doing her doctorate, she's doing that at USC as well. Okay. But didn't live on campus, all that kind of stuff. Like within 3 days that she was taking her master's program with USC, she's talking to me about wanting to get Trojan season tickets. Yeah. And like, it is like the passion fan base around like that is crazy. I even got some USC gear. You know why? Because I practically fund that whole fucking school. That's why.
You're a booster.
You know how expensive masters and doctorates are? It ain't cheap. USC should be giving me free season tickets. All right, what's next?
All right, this is our last super chat. So it's from Joe. It says Saints are 0-4 in games where Hill doesn't finish or play. The offense is predicated on him being in the lineup in a joker role. Shahid and Olav are out tomorrow.
Yeah,
Kamara
they're hurt on their receiver ends as well.
Kamara is the only offensive threat.
Okay, look, Hill to me is like one of the coolest X Factor guys in the entire league, right? Like when Hill's in there, something interesting is going to happen. But to say that the Raiders offense is kind of predicated on Hill, I think that's a misrepresentation. Can he be key in a game? Yes, he can. If he was in the game, would they have won 3 of the last 4 instead of losing all 4? I don't think so. Look, they need to get healthy. They need to get Carr back. They need to get Hill back. You just mentioned a couple of receivers they need to get back. Like that's one of the reasons why I'm picking the Broncos to win tomorrow night. But they got to get healthy and Hill's one of those keys. All right. Now, guys, with the super chat questions out of the way, let's get over to you guys in the live chats. If you guys are in the live chat and you've been waiting to ask some questions, go ahead and start firing them in. What do we got up first?
All right. They're flying in. All right. Mighty Tank says, who is the best Toronto Maple Leaf of all time?
Ooh. Okay. So look, that's when you get into questions about eras. Like you get into the era that was pre my lifetime, back when Toronto Maple Leafs won Stanley Cups, which is literally before I was like years before I was ever born. Then you get into the era when I was a little kid. and you're talking about like all-time greats. Darryl Sittler, number 27, captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who, by the way, holds the one offensive NHL record that Wayne Gretzky doesn't. Wayne Gretzky has all the records: points, assists, goals, everything. He owns all of them. He owns all the records. But the one he doesn't have is most points in a game. That is a record held by number 27, Darryl Sittler, who scored, I believe it was against the Boston Bruins. I think it was Boston Bruins. 10 points in one game. It'll never be beaten. I don't think that is a record that will ever be beaten. And by the way, for my American friends, sorry, Michael Jordan is not the greatest professional athlete of all time, not even close. Tom Brady is not the greatest professional athlete of all time, not even close. By miles, Wayne Gretzky is the most dominant professional athlete of all time. It would be as if Michael Jordan was the all-time points scoring leader, all-time rebounder, all-time assist leader, all-time blocks. He's not, of course. Wayne Gretzky literally holds all the records. All the records that will never be broken. Like in NBA, like you got this guy has this many points, and then the next guy has this many points, and this guy has this many points. Wayne Gretzky has this many points, and the next guys are all the way down here. Like it's not even close. Gretzky is by far the most dominant professional athlete in one of the major professional sports in North America. No one's ever come close. No one ever will come close. But as far as, I think there's an argument to be made that maybe Matt Sundin might have been the actual best overall Toronto Maple Leaf. Sundin had a great, my favorite was Rick Vaive. Rick Vaive was my favorite as a kid growing up. But yeah, there's been a lot of great guys wearing the Maple Leaf jersey, just not any of them with rings. No rings. No rings for Leaf fans. No rings. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Brody Weaver, who says, who do you guys think is the most underrated player in the NFL? For me, it's Chris Godwin.
Oh, listen, Godwin is just Mr. Get the Job Done. Right? I mean, he just is. I think, didn't they say he like leads some ridiculous stat of yards after catch? Like his yak numbers are crazy. His third down production is off the chart. Well, would I call him the most underrated? The only reason I'll say no is because I think he gets a lot of love. I think Godwin gets a lot of love over there. That's a really good question. You know, it might be Hutchison over in Detroit, because until he got the 4.5 sacks against the Bucs, I feel like for years he hasn't gotten the attention he deserves. Because everybody always wants to talk about JT Watt, understandably. They want to talk about Aaron Donald, understandably. But I think very quietly he's been a stud on that line. And I think maybe him. Do you got a nominee for most underrated NFL player?
I mean, there's probably a ton. I'm trying to think like position, defense, offense. Not off the top of my head.
All right. Okay, what's next?
JG Trey says, could Tyreek Hill potentially be traded if Tua chooses to retire?
Ooh. Well, here's the problem. I don't think Miami will make the same mistake Cleveland did. I think if Tua does decide to retire, which it sounds like he's coming back, but if Tua does decide to retire, I think the last thing that Miami will want to do is get rid of their number one receiver.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're letting him go. So probably not. All right, we got time for one more. What's next?
Zach says, depressed Clippers fan here. Not expecting a lot this season, but super excited about going to the Intuit Dome. I was wondering how likely will this new arena attract future free agents?
0. I don't think the arena is going to attract new free agents. Unless you have, well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. This is how we get in trouble. So it'll attract fans, though. Because I guarantee you. By the way, it's the Intuit Dome. I keep referring to it as the Inuit Dome.
Oh, yeah. It's a
Canadian here.
Yeah,
I keep referring to it as the Inuit Dome. It is the Intuit Dome. I know I am planning to go to a lot more Clipper games this year than I ever would have if they were still playing at Crypto.
which means they can afford free agents.
I mean,
possibly.
I am going to go. I want to go see that arena. I hate preseason in every sport. Preseason's useless, but I've even considered going to a preseason. Holy crap. Just section one, like the main, not the floor, but the stand. You know how much the tickets were for a preseason game?
At the new place?
Yeah.
Probably $300.
$600.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, you can get cheaper ones up there, but for a they should be giving those away. But anyway, I know I'm going to go to a lot more games, so it's going to attract fans, but I don't think it's going to attract free agents.
I don't think the arena itself, but I think as a package with Ballmer as the owner, new arena, good facilities, and he's willing to spend, that's what's going to get the free agents.
Yeah, I'm not
it's part of the whole Clippers package.
Yeah, as a whole Clippers package, can the Clippers become an attractive place for free agents? Yes. Just based on the arena, though? Because you know why? The floor is still the floor.
Yeah,
they're not sitting in the cushioned seats. They're playing basketball on the floor, so probably not. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of Filthy Sports. Thank you so much for joining us here. Big thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, especially those of you who sent in super chats, because not only to give us interesting things to talk about, you actually financially supported the channel, and we appreciate that so much. So thank you guys so much for your support. Hey guys, do us a favor. One of the great ways to help this is a new channel that we're experimenting with. It would be great if you help the YouTube algorithm get our videos out to more people, and it's an easy way to do it. Just click the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel. All these things help us grow and develop as a brand new YouTube channel, and it's a good way to let us know if you actually like what we're doing here. Anyway, guys, I want to thank the people in the room with me, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys tomorrow.
Ryan Myers.
Thanks, everybody.
My name's John Campia, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.